The store shelf is not a guarantee. It's a subscription you never signed, one that gets canceled without notice when freight routes back up, when a factory goes dark, or when a financial system that's been running on borrowed time finally stops pretending. 7 specific categories of goods are already tightening. Inventories are contracting. The window to act isn't 6 months out. It's now. And none of what I'm about to show you requires a bunker. It requires ownership. Let's get into it. Here's what the disruptions of 2020 taught us, and what most people have already forgotten. Modern retail is engineered for efficiency, not resilience. The average grocery store carries roughly 3 days of food inventory on site. A regional distribution hub might hold 2 weeks. That's the entire visible abundance you see on those shelves. A just-in-time illusion held together by a global chain of logistics running through ports, diesel, trade agreements, and currency stability. Any one of those links can snap. What's different heading into 2026 is that several of those pressure points are converging at once. Import costs are climbing as trade policy shifts. Agricultural input prices, fertilizer, fuel, packaging remain stubbornly elevated. Credit is tightening for the mid-size retailers and regional distributors who actually stock the shelves in smaller markets. And the commodities underlying these 7 categories are either experiencing genuine supply shortages, yard production consolidation, or both. This isn't speculation. The data is in retail inventory reports, commodity futures markets, and USDA supply chain assessments. You don't need to believe in any particular economic outcome to act on this. You just need to understand that the cost of being wrong about abundance is always lower when you own your own supply. The cost of being wrong about scarcity, when you've done nothing, can be catastrophic. These 7 items aren't random. They were selected because they meet 3 specific criteria. Supply is visibly tightening, they are items people genuinely depend on, and there is a durable ownership alternative you can build right now for less than what you'd spend in 12 months of retail purchases. Let's start with number 1. Number 1, non-hybrid vegetable seed. The seed market has quietly consolidated over the past 3 decades. 8 companies now control roughly 60% of the global seed supply, and the dominant product they sell is the hybrid. A seed engineered to produce a great crop once and fail to breed true the following year. That's not a design flaw. That's the business model. Non-hybrid, open-pollinated seed, what your great-grandparents called just seed, is disappearing from mainstream retail. Hardware chains are cutting seed selections. Small regional seed companies are being acquired or folding. And when a supply shock hits the food system, these seeds become functionally unavailable overnight, as people learned during the early months of 2020 when seed companies sold out their entire catalog in weeks. Here's what you need to know. Open-pollinated seed from a properly stored harvest is viable for 3 to 7 years, depending on the variety. Tomatoes and cucumbers stay viable up to 6 years. Onions and parsnips drop off faster. Store in a sealed glass jar with a silica packet in a dark space at or below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and you have a seed bank that functions as genuine food infrastructure. A comprehensive non-hybrid seed collection covering vegetables, herbs, and grains costs less than 1 season of groceries. But if you save seed properly, it becomes a lifetime asset. Number 2, canning supplies, lids, rings, and pectin. During 2020 and 2021, canning lids became the toilet paper of the homesteading world. Lids vanished from store shelves for months, when people were paying several dollars per lid on secondary markets for something that normally costs only a few cents. The factories hadn't been destroyed. The supply chain had simply buckled, and a product with almost no retail shelf presence outside of summer months had no buffer stock to absorb the shock. Here's what most people still don't understand. The lid shortage wasn't random. It was the predictable result of a just-in-time supply chain meeting a sudden surge in demand with zero slack. And the structural conditions that caused it haven't changed. Canning lids are single-use. Rings are reusable. Pectin has a limited shelf life. A realistic reserve looks like this. Enough lids for at least 2 full seasons of preservation, extra rings, and a full year's supply of pectin if you preserve fruit. Reusable lid systems exist that eliminate the single-use dependency entirely. It's a one-time investment that pays for itself the first time shelves go empty. Number 3, Antibiotics and basic wound care supplies. Only a small percentage of pharmaceutical products used in the United States are manufactured domestically. Much of the supply depends on global production chains that can be disrupted by shipping delays, trade restrictions, or manufacturing shortages. Drug shortage lists have existed for years, and common medications appear on them more often than most people realize. For basic wound care and infection management, there are long shelf life alternatives that don't rely on constant resupply. Medical-grade honey has well-documented antimicrobial properties. Properly stored, it can remain usable for extremely long periods. Silver-based solutions have also been used historically for antimicrobial purposes and are still studied today. A practical approach is to build a durable wound care kit that includes sterile dressings, irrigation supplies, closure strips, and long shelf life antimicrobial options. The goal isn't to replace modern medicine. The goal is to have reliable tools when the supply chain is delayed. Before we get into number 4, consider this. The next item on the list has a documented shelf life of over 3,000 years. Modern versions of it often last less than 2. The product didn't get worse because it had to. It got worse because the business model changed. Number 4, raw, unfiltered honey. Honey found in ancient tombs thousands of years old has been tested and found still edible. The reason is simple chemistry. Honey has extremely low moisture content, natural acidity, and antimicrobial properties that prevent spoilage. Modern commercial honey is often filtered, heated, and sometimes diluted or blended. It still works as a sweetener, but it doesn't have the same stability or nutritional value as raw honey. A raw honey from local producers is fundamentally different. It retains enzymes, pollen, and natural antimicrobial compounds. Stored properly, it does not expire. Domestic hive numbers have declined in many regions, and imported honey has faced fraud investigations for years. That means the real product is harder to find than the label suggests. Buying in bulk directly from a local producer often costs less than retail and lasts far longer. One large purchase can supply a household for years. A single hive, once established, can produce more honey annually than most families use. That's not stockpiling, that's production. Number 5, heirloom grain and dry legumes and bulk rice, wheat, beans, and lentils are the backbone of long-term food storage. They are also commodities affected by export restrictions, weather events, and global shipping costs. What most people don't realize is that grocery store grain is not packaged for long storage. It may already be months old by the time it reaches the shelf. Grain stored correctly, sealed in airtight bags with oxygen removed and protected from moisture, can last decades, not years, decades. Bulk grain purchased directly from mills or co-ops, stored in sealed containers, becomes long-term infrastructure instead of short-term food. A 6-month reserve of basic grain and legumes costs less than many households spend in 2 months at the store. Stored correctly, it can last longer than most appliances in your house. Here's something most people get wrong. They stockpile products when they should be building systems. The next 2 items are not things you buy once and throw on a shelf. They're things you install, maintain, and use for the rest of your life. Number 6, water filtration systems and ceramic filter elements. Water infrastructure in many parts of the country is aging. Breaks, contamination events, and chemical shortages happen every year, while even if they don't always make national news. Most people assume clean water will always come from the tap. That assumption only works as long as every part of the system keeps working. Ceramic filtration is one of the oldest and most reliable methods of water purification. Properly made ceramic filters can remove bacteria and sediment without electricity or chemical treatment. Unlike disposable filters, ceramic elements can often be cleaned and reused many times, which makes them long-term infrastructure instead of a recurring purchase. When combined with rainwater collection or stored water, a simple filtration setup allows a household to operate independently of municipal supply for drinking water. For most of history, this wasn't considered preparation. It was considered normal. Number 7, hand tools, specifically forged, repairable ones. This last category sounds less urgent, but it's actually the most important. Every other item on this list depends on tools. Food production, repair, building, storage, none of it happens without them. Modern tools are often designed for low cost and easy replacement, not for lifetime use. Many can't be repaired when they break. Older forged tools with wood handles and solid steel heads can last for generations. They can be sharpened, rehandled, and maintained with simple skills. The supply of high-quality repairable tools is shrinking as older manufacturers disappear and estate inventories are sold off. The difference isn't just durability, it's independence. A tool that lasts 50 years removes 50 years of dependency on the store. What ties all 7 of these items together isn't panic, it's structure. The modern system is designed with very little redundancy at the consumer level. That keeps prices low, but it also means disruptions show up quickly when something goes wrong. Every item on this list represents a place where ownership replaces dependency. And once you see that pattern, you start noticing it everywhere. Every item on this list follows the same principle. Modern supply chains are built to minimize inventory. That makes businesses efficient, but it also means the visible supply at any moment may only represent a few days or weeks of actual stock. Ownership works differently. A seed that reproduces itself doesn't need to be repurchased. A tool that lasts a lifetime doesn't need to be replaced. A filter that can be cleaned doesn't need a new cartridge every month. When you compare the lifetime cost of buying consumables to the one-time cost of owning durable equipment, the difference becomes obvious. A few $100s a year in recurring purchases becomes thousands over time. The ownership alternative often costs less upfront than people expect, and far less over the long run. For most of history, this was normal. People bought quality once, maintained it, and passed it down. Disposable systems are the exception, not the rule. What you're building when you invest in these 7 categories is not a stockpile. A stockpile runs out. A system keeps producing. And the people who do best when supply chains tighten are not the ones who bought the most at the last minute. They're the ones who built systems slowly, deliberately, over years. You don't need to do all 7. Pick one, close one gap, replace one dependency with something you own, maintain, and control. That's how real security is built. Quietly, deliberately, one system at a time.